Hey boys, welcome back, and we're getting through these teams pretty quickly. So we got a few more to go, but we're up to the Penrith Panthers. So let's have a look. Go to their lineup, and straight out the gate we got Matthew Moylan, and you know he gets a lot of raps. He gets a lot of raps. You know, I think everybody is talking this kid up, and honestly, I can see why. The few games I've seen him for Penrith, he's a really young kid. He's really inexperienced, but he seems like an experienced player. He sets up tries, he saves tries. Just overall, his performance has been excellent. And in that City Country game, he was one of the best. People are saying he's a good chance for New South Wales. I don't know. I personally, I'm a Queenslander, so I don't really care either way, but I feel like maybe it's a bit early at the moment, but I think down the track he's definitely going to be New South Wales fullback, but we'll see this year, who knows. On the wing we have, but yeah, on the overall rating, 87, it's pretty good. I'm happy with that. Josh Mansour, 82. You could argue that's a bit low, and I'd probably say it is. I'd say he's a mid-80 player. Mid-80, maybe even high 80s. I'm not too sure. I think he's an excellent winger. He's, just the amount of ground he makes when Penrith are in their own end or whatever team he's playing for, the amount of meters he eats up, and he seems he must be a hard guy to tackle. He must be so strong because they struggle to bring him down, and that's what you want out of your wingers. You want wingers who can make good ground. So I would say his rating should be a bit higher. Then we got Dean Fare, who I didn't think he was that good when he was at Seagulls, but honestly, he is a good defender. He's not a big guy, but man, he puts on some good hits. 84 I'd say is pretty right. His attack is, I wouldn't call him one of the strike centers in the game, but his defense is just on point. He's a good hitter, so I'd say 84 is pretty right for him. Then we got big old Jamal Idris with 84 as well. I don't know. I feel like it should be a bit higher. He's had a pretty bad run of injuries lately, but when he's fit, he is nearly unstoppable. He is such a big man, and he's quick. He's got good footwork. That's a fairly killer combination. So I'd have him a bit higher, honestly, high 80s. Then we got Watin Zelezniak. Old Zelezniak. He was meant to play for New Zealand, but he got suspended, was it? So I feel like this is a bit low, considering he's an international player now, but I haven't seen too much of him, but he has been going really good for the Panthers, apparently, so you'd have to say it's a bit low, 75 for an international player. Probably 80s. I'd say low to mid 80s, but you could argue either way, probably. Then we got a bit of a controversial one. Jamie Soward with 91. He has played really good for the Panthers this year, and they've definitely missed him with him being out injured. I mean, just on the Panthers in general, they've been pretty unlucky this year. They've had so many injuries. It's crazy. But yeah, Jamie Soward, he's played really good, but 91, that's getting up to the best players in the game standard, and I don't feel like he's that high. If we go back to some of the other halfbacks and in the other teams, they were nowhere near 90, so I feel like that's too high compared to the other halfbacks. I mean, 5'8". Yeah, but he has been playing really good this year, but I'd still say mid to high 80s. Then we got Peter Wallace with 80. I've never been a big fan of Peter Wallace. I was so glad when when he left the Broncos. He's a solid player. He's pretty good defensively. I've just never been a big fan, and 80 I think is pretty good. He's been good for the Panthers. He's been a good foil with Jamie Soward, but other than that, if he doesn't have someone like a Soward outside him, I don't think he he would look as good as he is, so 80 I think is pretty fair. Then we got Sam McHenry, 77, and it's weird, like, McHenry used to be one of the best props in my opinion a couple of years ago, but I don't know if he's been injured or he's just down on form. I don't even think he's really been in the Panthers side this year too much, so 77 is probably about right for him. But yeah, I used to think he was one of the best front rowers in the game. He was a giant of a man, and he was just one of those guys who made ground. Made a lot of ground every game. Then we got James Seguiaro, and I agree with this. 91. You know, he's only a couple behind Cameron Smith, and probably that's a little iffy, but honestly, Seguiaro, in my opinion, has been the second best hooker this year, behind Smith. He's just been so damaging. You know, having someone out of dummy half who can run, like, who is so quick, who can just you know, scare defenders. You know, if there's a quick play the ball, Seguiaro is off, and he's strong as well. He's not just a fast guy, but if they get hold of him, he just keeps making ground. Like, he's such a strong guy. He pulls off some big hits for a little fella. Like a lot of little fellas in the rugby league pull off the biggest hits, but yeah, Seguiaro, he's one of my favorite players. I can't believe, I was so devastated when the Cowboys, like, had to lose him. Like, he wanted to get at Penrith, but what can he do? But 91 I agree with. Brent Kite, 82, don't agree with. You know, he's a good front row, but like, this is, I think, 1 point behind Matt Scott, 2 behind Tamo. Like, he's not even on the fringe of making New South Wales anymore, so I don't know how he's 82. He should be mid-70s, I think. He's just a solid front rower that you'd probably have on the bench in most teams. Then we got Sika Manu, 77, I think is way too low. I've been a big fan of Manu for a long time now. When he used to play for Storm, he was, you know, he was near on unstoppable, honestly. He got injured a lot, which, you know, is always a shame. Like, and that was sort of the way he ran. He always tried to make those extra ground, and people would take his legs out, and he'd have a lot of, like, ankle injuries. For Penrith, I don't think he's been as devastating, but he's probably been a bit more consistently on the field. So, but yeah, 77 too low. Should be mid-80s, probably even a bit higher. But yeah, good player. Lewis Brown, 84. I think this is a bit high, honestly. Yeah, he's a good player. But yeah, I just feel it's a bit high. I don't think he's anything too special. He's done some pretty good things, and he's pretty versatile. He can play like second row. He can play in the centers. But yeah, I'd say low 80s, maybe high 70s. Then we got Elijah Taylor, who I'm a big fan of. I think 86 is pretty fair. Yeah, 86 is probably about right. He's another guy that just constantly gets injured and long-term injuries. And it's always a shame, but when he's on the field, he's a leader, he's a high worker. 86 is probably about right. Then we got Regan Campbell-Gillard, which I hadn't really ever heard of this fella too much, but then I saw he was in I think he was playing for City. I'm pretty sure he was in the City team. It wasn't Country, I'm pretty sure it was City, which I was very surprised with. And, you know, he came into that game and he didn't really do anything, so 65 is probably, I don't know, like, if he's making the City team, maybe it should be a bit higher, but I don't think he's all that great. But yeah, I'll stick with 65. I haven't seen too much of him to really make an opinion. Bryce Cartwright, 88, way too high. You know, they love talking up Bryce Cartwright, and he's done some pretty good things. You know, he's a good offloader. I'll give him that. He does offload the ball a hell of a lot, but yeah, I don't know. 88, that's really getting up there. He's definitely not one of the best back rolls in the game, and this is like far and away above any other back rolls they have. So yeah, way too high. Jeremy Lattimore, 77, I agree with. Maybe a bit high. He's just he's a bench player at best. But yeah, you need people like this on your team probably. He's just a big forward who hasn't really done anything of note, so 77's probably a touch high. Then we have Tyrone Peachy with 86. This one I can sort of agree with. He is pretty good. Like, again, he played for City. God, obviously it was either City or Country. But he was pretty good. Like, he creates a fair bit. He's quick. He's a very fast forward. And that's always good to have. Like, big fast forwards are always a key to any side. So I agree with 86. He's a good player. Only going to get better with age. But yeah, that's the Panthers lineup. Let's look at the jerseys. I find it funny how the alternate's the pink one. I didn't know that. I thought that was just like a special one, but I do like the pink. The pink Panthers is quite nice. I wish all the teams had a pink jersey, but the Panthers pull it off pretty good. I do like their jerseys. But yeah, that's the Panthers done and dusted, so see you guys in the next one.